Acolytes, Rev talks about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's hear him out. And by the way, from what I've seen, it's mid. It's at best okay. I didn't play it, and guess what? I'm not gonna play it. It's just, from what I see, it's just not worth my time. Simple as that.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So right now, Ubisoft is in the thick of it. We're about 24 hours into the official release of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and in this video, we're going to be looking at the initial player counts and the reaction to those numbers on social media, as well as the reaction from Ubisoft, who is trying to fluff those numbers as much as possible to try to convince people
Makes
this game
sense.
is probably selling more than it actually is. And then we're going to end this video while looking at the recent reactions Ubisoft is having to criticism of their game, as well as more attention from the Japanese government about the Shrine controversy, including a reaction from the Prime.
Ooh, that's actually quite nice. The Shrine controversy still haunts them. Nice.
Minister of Japan. So let's get right into it. So last night, the game actually released a couple hours early, which normally would be welcomed by players as an extra bonus. But with Ubisoft and their countless mistakes, some people are considering that another error on their behalf. But these are the numbers, and honestly, they're pretty crazy and also disappointing. For me, I actually thought they would have a much higher number than this. Right now, and for most of the day, it's been sitting right around 40,000 in-game players according.
Yeah, I mean, for F's sake, it's Assassin's Creed Shadows Steam charts. The thing is, I also expected way higher numbers at the end of the day, because this is, I mean, hey, this is actually quite fine, I would say, for a normal game. This is a lot of people. I would say this isn't the lowest amount, but I still expected double of it, because it's an Assassin's Creed game, for F's sake. It's not like it's okay, let's pick, what was the last one? I don't know. No, the last good one. I think Origins, at least I played that. Followers on top position, negative reviews, blah 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 blah. Let's see. What did it have? The first day, blah 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 blah. Yeah, 41. So that's that. Let it be as it is. But hey.
According to Steam, of course, there's other avenues for players to get Assassin's Creed Shadows. They're not all represented by this Steam DB chart here. But of course, that's the case with a lot of games. And you can compare the performance of Shadows versus other games that go through similar patterns. And you can tell, this is just disappointing. I mean, personally, I would have thought at this point, well over 100,000 in-game players on Steam. But no, we're sitting here at about 40,000, and that is very odd to see. Veilguard, for example, doubling that number. And we're not even talking about games like Monster Hunter Wilds, which was in the million-plus range in the first day or two. And you just look at this, and there's no other way to frame this other than lower than you probably would have expected. And what's very odd about this to me is if you go down in the chart here and you see the progression of the numbers, it's just flatlining. Like, normally you see a big burst and then people go to sleep and then a big burst. It's steadily climbing until about mid-afternoon today, and it's just flatlined right at about 40,000 in-game players. And whether that's the greatest representation of all Assassin's Creed Shadows players, it just seems like the interest is kind of already tapered off, which is odd to see. Now, of course, I mean, it is a Thursday.
Yeah, he's correct about it. At the end of the day, this is actually something that I as he said, I didn't expect this. This is very, very surprising to me. But at the end of the day, hey, it is what it is.
And everyone says, wait for the weekend, and that might be true, but how much more things do you have to wait for this to get going? Because Ubisoft is not in a position to have a start to their game. They need a fast and fiery start to this game because their company is literally on the line here. They need an enormous number of sales. We all know this number is going to go up. I think this number is going to go up pretty significantly over the weekend, but still, it's just not really matching up to what people were expecting for this game, myself included. And again, they have a long way to go to make a profit on this. But as a result of these numbers, we're seeing Ubisoft on their various social media accounts.
Yeah, and by the way, 78% after deleting a lot of negative reviews. Fair enough.
In particular on Twitter, trying to spin these numbers in the most positive way that they can. So beginning with this post, the official Assassin's Creed Twitter account saying, excited to be back, full steam ahead. Thank you for the support, Assassins. And they show the screenshot of the top sellers on Steam. And of course, Assassin's Creed Shadows is at number 1, which is not surprising at all. Now, the reason I say this is slightly misleading is because this is based on revenue. You can see right here, this is top selling games by revenue, and this is a very recent set of data. This is not including recent releases like Monster Hunter Wilds. So they are really kind of the monolith right now. They're the big game out there right now. So it's not surprising to see them at number 1. This is the actual chart they're referencing. Of course, they cropped Shadows to be at the top and the only one you can see, but you look down, for example, the number 3 most selling games by revenue right now is Helldivers 2. That game's been out for a very long time now, so it's not exactly the greatest flex ever, but they're looking for any W they can get in this situation. And
yeah, I mean, a casual gamer will, or a fan will instantly believe that this is something to be proud about. So,
Of course, if you look at other metrics, if you look at player count, right now, Assassin's Creed Shadows is 34th on Steam.
Ew.
This is 24 hours or so into the release, and they're 34th on Steam right now. And you look at other games. They're behind The Sims 4, Euro Truck Simulator 2, Dead by Daylight, Elden Ring, Call of Duty, Stardew Valley, Baldur's Gate 3, Helldivers 2, and of course, every single time, the Banana Game.
Of course.
And of course, Marvel Rivals, and then Monster Hunter Wilds, but you get the point, right?
Yeah.
The player count is nowhere near these other games, and they're relying on the revenue of this game to say it is a big success right now, and that's the spin they're going with. And here is the latest spin. This tweet in particular has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of debate. So they have announced it's not even 4 p.m. here in Canada, and Assassin's Creed Shadows has already passed 1 million players. Now, that is always a bit of a red flag when they use something like players instead of traditional numbers or traditional phrases like units or copies. They're trying to basically mislead people into thinking they sold 1 million units already, which in the first 24 hours of an Assassin's Creed game like this, that wouldn't be that surprising, right? But they're already using this language that we've seen other companies use typically when they're trying to downplay how bad things are going for them and the disappointment they're dealing with. Because, yeah, 1 million players is a lot, but not for this game. They need a lot more than this, and they're already trying to spin it with this language. And again, I see that as a red flag, because if they had 1 million units sold, they would tell you they have 1 million units sold. So when I see players, I don't really like what I'm seeing there. And now people are weaponizing that.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you 1 million players, Assassin's Creed is a solo game. That would logically say that it's 1 million copies sold. Why would it be? Or do they count the free copies that they got out? Is it maybe a multiplayer thing where you can play with 2 people and it's not even that, or even 3 or 4 people? I don't know. The player count just doesn't make sense to me. But okay, fair enough.
Tweet. Everyone's already dismissing this as a commercial success. Like, all the people who are fans of Assassin's Creed Shadows or people who are angry at people for criticizing the game, they are all saying, wow, it's already a success. Go woke, go broke. Who said so? Like, what? It's been the first 24 hours. They have a long way to go. And I'm not someone who's going to deny that they're going to sell millions of copies. I think they're going to sell several million copies in the first couple of weeks. But is it going to be enough? That's the question. It's not whether or
Yep.
not this game's going to have a good amount of players. It's whether or not this is going to keep the lights on at Ubisoft. Okay? I've heard numbers around 7 to 10 million units they have to sell to basically consider this a success. And basically their whole company is riding on this. So reporting that there's 1 million players in the first 24 hours.
Yeah, 7 million for this slop, it's just not worth the money. It's... No accolades. This is... From what I've seen, because I'm gonna be honest, I just wanted to see if it would be a good game, just so I'm proven wrong. You may be surprised, but I actually strive to always be proven wrong. Not the other way around. Because you can learn new things by being wrong. And I like that. But if I'm correct, I'm effing correct. In this case, this, for Assassin's Creed, just isn't impressive. So yeah. And by the way, I think Origins was so low because it was previously on PlayStation and then it came to Steam. That's why the numbers are so similar. So
Is not actually as convincing as I would want, right? If you want to convince me this game is a big success, that's not a good way to start it off. And also you look at kind of the investment on Ubisoft's behalf here. 2 hours of credits at the end of this. That's how many people were a part of
are you shit? 2 hours? Nah, come on.
this project. Not to
Okay, hey. This guy, hey, your podcast may not be a fan of this, but freaking points for you. If this is true, damn. And I also actually always, well, buffered it was 10 minutes. What the fuck?
mention the advertising. If you haven't noticed, infinite streamers and content creators have been doing paid promotional streams and paid promotional posts for this game. They have advertising all over the place. They have invested a lot into this game. So like I said, the mountain they have to climb to consider this a success is going to be a very difficult one, and we're going to have to wait and see. I didn't really think I was going to cover this in the first 24 hours. I was going to wait an extra day or two to look at the numbers, but they're already pretty interesting to me, and also we're dealing with this other layer of controversy. Yes. So let's talk about some more responses from Ubisoft on issues pertaining to this game, beginning with some of the romance arcs. Of course, these are not a part of the canon mode, but that canon mode was largely developed to try to quell off any criticism of these historical characters being absolutely bastardized in these various cutscenes and romance options and things like that. This is the scene that's been going all over the place, viral on...
You know this scene. Everybody knows this scene. My freaking... well, niece knows this scene.
Social media, the scene between Yasuke and a non-binary samurai, and this has been getting memed on all over the place. In case you need a reminder, here's a little tidbit of what you missed out on.
So tongue-tied.
Not yet, at least. I hope you aren't easily chilled.
And yada yada yada. Then him and Ibuki here.
Show the scene, please.
They them samurai. Then they have a kiss out in the woods. Okay, and a lot of people are clowning on this, but there's been a lot of reaction, including community notes. I see community notes on all of these tweets that are showing this scene and making any statement, even a very stale and benign one. There's proposed notes like this saying romance in Assassin's Creed games are entirely optional and dependent on the user's choice to romance a particular character. Therefore, any romance character was actively pursued by the user. I don't think people are denying that these are optional routes. I think they're just saying they're ridiculous.
For F's sake, I literally don't know any game that actually forces a romance on you. Except it's built in the story. A romance may be built in the story. Okay, good, fair enough. But I would say like 98% of romances in the entire game industry are your choice. This isn't something special. It's not even something new. It's nothing. It's more of a well done moment. No shit, Sherlock. What? Are you gonna point out that water's wet? Next? Are you yeah. And yes, users are pointing out that this is freaking stupid. And they don't like this binary stuff. Simple as that. I include myself with it. This is just way too stupid. And he's gonna show the scene. That's why. Good. I think Yasuke will go down as a legend, but not because of the things that they think he went down, but because he's such a train wreck of a character that people will just love it.
Like, you're taking this historical character Yasuke from feudal Japan and having him in multiple gay relationships. It just seems kind of out of place for the time, and also when you're using a historical character like that. And again, this Cope here is talking about that, and this is what the tweet actually said. It's literally describing exactly what's happening in the scene. There's no note needed on stuff like this. People like this are abusing the community note system to try to put basically their own opinion in about something this person didn't say. They're shadowboxing an opinion that the original poster didn't even bring up. But also, you see people making extreme levels of cope that go even beyond that. This user saying...
Watch it. Acolyte, if you're watching at work or something like that, pause. This video is paused. Just... I'm gonna pause on the freaking face.
Trans and non-binary people have always existed.
There it is. The dude looks high as fuck. He just ate some muffins and was like, hell yeah, I did. Hell yeah, this is... Oh, this face. I know this face. I made this face. A lot of people made this face. It was always involved with some kind of legal drugs.
In Japan, and Yasuke was a real black samurai. So all of the historical inaccuracies in Assassin's Creed, out of all of those, this is not one of them. Which, yeah, this is just a whole crop of delusion. I'm glad people are clowning on this post. But, of course, that's not the only thing going on with these romance arcs here. Okay, there's this character, Oichi, okay, who is a historical character, the daughter or the sister of Oda Nobunaga.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a romance option with Yasuke. Yasuke sleeps with her in this option. And people are really pissed about this one in Japan because by kind of the consequence of that, they would basically be reworking an entire bloodline of royal bloodlines. And that has a lot of people very upset in Japan because obviously, right? And no one's really talking about this one because I guess it's not too important to them. Everyone's focusing on the non-binary romance arc. But
this is a Japanese thing. And people are fuming about this. Basically, Onichi was a well-respected person and they just made her into a HO3. HO4? A whore. Fuck it.
But yeah, a lot of people are really angry. And how is Ubisoft responding to this? Saying, remember the fourth tenet of the creed. Flirting in RPG games is always optional. Well, I guess you get get out of jail free card for that one. You can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you say it's optional. People aren't allowed to criticize how ridiculous the option is because basically... just don't do it if you don't like it. So I guess you can just do whatever you want with these characters, even if they're historically based, while you try to claim that your game respects Japanese culture and Japanese history.
Yeah,
it's all just a big joke to Ubisoft at this point. Now, the other ongoing controversy is the shrine controversy. About a month back, people showed footage like this of Yasuke going into shrines based on real-life counterparts and going around and destroying everything and killing people inside of the shrine. And it made a lot of people in Japan very upset. It's considered highly disrespectful to even allow this to be an option in the game. And people always say, it's you, the player, who makes these decisions. Well, Ubisoft decided to make the decision to allow this to happen. So in effect, they are allowing it to happen in their game, and that is being deemed as disrespectful.
I'm gonna be honest here. The option itself isn't the bad thing here. I think the option of actually destroying it is fine. The only thing is everything else, and this on top. This just looks like an extra freaking knife edging. Just they are ramming the knife in their back just a little bit more because of the other controversy they have, and this just comes on top of it. So it just stacks and it just blows up, and this looks like something that's made on purpose.
By many people in Japan. And when this was first reported, and channels like my own was sharing Japanese articles about this, we were all told we were making this stuff up, that no one in Japan actually cares about these shrines being destroyed. Well, we all know that was not the case. There was a lot of people very angry about this, to the point where now there is a day one patch in place that's going to prevent the defacing of shrines. And that comes directly from concerns out of Japan, and in particular from Japanese politicians who really picked this up the last couple of days. And here is a clip being reacted to on YouTube by the channel Shohei Kondo, who I will put a link to this video in the description. But he's talked about a lot of the stuff in the Japanese reaction to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And here he's giving some commentary on this meeting at the Japanese National Diet. And we hear words not just from some Japanese politicians, but also from the Prime Minister of Japan himself. So basically, this individual described everything that's going on with this controversy, and now he's saying, so Prime Minister, what do you think about this?
神社を参拝しました石破総理にお伺いしたいんですけども、ゲーム、SNS 等によりまして多文化を軽んじる行為やそれに伴う観光公害についてご所見をお伺いしたいと思います。
石破内閣総理大臣。
これを法的にどうするかということにつきましては、経産省あるいは文科省あるいは外務省とよく協議をしてまいりたいと思っておりますが、神社に落書きする。
So that part, it seems like he is referring to the Assassin's Creed Shadows controversy, but now he's also talking about some real-life events that happen, including some shrines being defaced with graffiti and stuff like that. But what he says next, I think, is pretty interesting.
なんぞというのはもってのほかの話であってですね。
Oh, this just happened. That happened before.
それはもうその国に対する侮辱に他ならないと私は思っておるところでございます。で自衛隊をイラク・サマーワに出しますときに、もちろんイスラム教を信じるとかそういう話ではありませんが、イスラム教のしきたりとか、そういうものは現地に派遣される自衛官たちにきちんと習得していくようにということをお願いをいたしました。
Based. Okay, now hear me out. If you don't know what he said, he basically explained that he finds it very disrespectful what Assassin's Creed Shadows done, because even in war times or when they send Japanese soldiers to Iraq, they made sure that they knew the traditions there. That's how you do it. That's how you show respect to a culture. Now, I personally am I don't care that it was specifically Iraq. But the thing is, you have a game that's so disrespectful about it, so racist against Japanese people. Then you have this shrine thing, or even the things before that they even have furniture that's more Chinese-based than Japanese, and those two don't like each other very much. And then this, I'm gonna be honest, acolytes, in this specific case, I wouldn't even be mad if they just said, nope, that's way too far, this Western company effed up, we're not allowing Assassin's Creed Shadows.
例えば料理を全部食べちゃわないといけないって、日本ではみんな食べないと申し訳ないみたいなことがありますが、じゃあ他の国では 全部食べちゃうと足りなかったという意思表示になってなんと失礼だということになるとかですね。それ表層的なものかもしれませんが、少なくともその国の文化とか宗教とか。
So, yeah, I mean, I think that is a very good point that was made. So he's talking about this deployment of troops in Iraq years back, and he was telling the importance of learning the small things about culture that may be small to you or something you don't think about, but it might lead to provocation, especially in a situation like that where you're deployed out in another country. A small thing like how you finish your plate that normally is a sign of respect in Japan, but is now disrespect over there, that can lead to provocation because you don't understand the culture. And that is something you are electing to deal with. And it's the same thing with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. They decided, they made the choice to make a game in the setting. And other directors have said it's very hard to nail down feudal Japan and other settings similar to that. And they don't even want to take it on because they can't do it without being fully knowledgeable. It's just too much to try to get right. So it's not worth the risk. But Ubisoft on their own volition took this on as a challenge, and they have failed many times over to uphold respect for Japanese history as well as culture. That's why these little things people say, these little things, they're very offensive to people in Japan because that's their culture. And with this shrine situation, people trying to dismiss it as just a in-game player option for players. They make the choice, yada, yada, yada. It's not seen that way in Japan. Whether you agree with it or not, that's not the way they see it. They are the subjects of this.
And I still bet you, if this was the only thing that's disrespectful to Japan, they wouldn't probably even give a fuck. They would be like, okay, we don't like it, but hey, it's just one thing. But the million others,
This is where the game is being based on. And they don't know these very simple cultural things, and they don't really seem to care unless there's massive outrage. They've ignored all of the other controversies involving Japanese history as well as culture until this one. Like we just showed, it got patched out day one. And that's because it literally got the attention of not just politicians, but the Prime Minister of Japan himself. That is absolutely wild. It's wild it has to get to that point for something to actually be taken seriously by Ubisoft. And they waited until literally the last second to do this. And it's ridiculous. And speaking of culturally bizarre things here, this is a clip going around. Spoiler alert. This is the very epic final battle with Yasuke here. And I'm not going to play it just in case there's issues with it, but as you might have expected, there's another hip-hop beat in the background, like traditional Japanese music mixed with hip-hop elements. And it's what everyone memed on this game for when the first previews came out because it's just so stereotypical with a character like Yasuke in the setting. And they're doing it again, and they're literally doing it in the final boss fight. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topic.
Damn. They just cannot stop effing up, can they? The game is out and still you find stuff that's so fucked up. But acolytes, as it is, I think this is the end of an era. Now that Assassin's Creed Shadows is out, there won't be as much, videos about it anymore. We know how the disaster looks and how it will probably end. And this is just the end of an era for a really nice, good drama. But, as it is, acolytes, good night.